So what's keeping dealers awake at night?
The one thing we hear is what happens when AI starts shopping.
From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Executive Spotlight.
Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, our guest is Corey Lydstone from CarGenius AI. Welcome, Corey.
Great to be here.
I really appreciate you coming in from California. So not too long of a trip to Akron.
No, it's a nice, easy flight. Direct flight, that's all.
Direct flight.
Yes.
So tell me, why is it that AI search is not always accurately depicting dealerships' inventory, dealerships' store information, dealerships' hours and other things?
Yeah, so today when an AI is asked a question, it is trying its best to answer that question. And a lot of times it's relying on scraping the web, outdated data, and going to a third-party marketplace to get that information back. So you say, hey, yes, I found a list of Toyotas near you, but it's scraped data, it's results that go to search result pages, and it's going to be links to third-party marketplaces that might not have the most up-to-date information. So AI doesn't have the data. It doesn't have real-time data to actually answer those questions correctly and the way dealers want those answers to be answered. Yeah.
So if I understand that right, it's not necessarily looking at what's exactly true today. It's looking at what has been true, what is true, and possibly even kind of come up a little bit of it on its own.
Well, if you ask ChatGPT a question, what is it doing? It has its trained memory that it relies on to predict the right answer for that. And when it doesn't have the answer in its memory, it goes and searches the web. It goes and in real time, you can see it doing this. It'll take minutes sometimes to go and find the information for you. And people are patient. They'll sit there and wait to see what it comes back with. But it's scraping. It's going and scraping information. It might be scraping information that its bots got yesterday, because let's say like the largest user of a lot of websites now is not people, it's bots. And it's not just Google bot anymore, it's the ChatGPT bot, it's the Claude bot, it's the Grok bot that are all out there scraping this information off car dealers daily, weekly, going to see what's available. It's scraping marketplaces, so it's going to try and find that information in the sources it has. It might be a real-time web search where it goes and uses Google and accesses the page, or it might be the data it scraped 3 days ago. We don't know. It's a black box.
Gotcha. So what can dealers do about that? I mean, if they want their accurate inventory and they want their other information to be accurate, what are some steps they can take?
I mean, that's why my business exists today, right? So, I used to run a marketplace business. I worked at CarGurus for a long time. When I set out to build something new, I talked to car dealers about what they needed, and no one said, I need to get my data directly into ChatGPT. What they said at the time was, we need alternatives to the existing marketplace dynamics in the space. And as I started to dig into that problem, I saw consumer behavior shifting to where consumers were going to be using AI tools for car shopping. And I had to think to what that means. If you look and see what happens as consumers shift from using Google and going to 20 different websites in their car search process to going to one, to going to their AI, asking their AI for help, from research down to transactions, what does that look like and what's missing? And the biggest thing I saw missing was access to the real information. So how can we get that real information there? There's a technology that was created by the folks that make Claude, a company called Anthropic, called MCP. It stands for Model Context Protocol. It's a tool that lets us take all the information the dealership has and expose it to AI programmatically. So instead of having to scrape your website, AI can use your website like it natively can, and get access to your inventory, to all the information about your dealership, to show me details about a vehicle, and to communicate. It can get information back from you. So it's a two-way street. So what we're doing right now is we're helping dealers deploy this infrastructure so they can be ready for when AI comes shopping, right? So what can you do? I think you can put yourself in the mindset of the future, start building some of these things. We do this for dealers. I think dealers sometimes will build this stuff themselves. You should use these tools, right? Get out there, use Claude, use ChatGPT, use Gemini, see how it's answering, if you like these answers, right? And understand how AI is representing your dealership, your brands today, and think about how you want it to in the future and how you can get there.
Let's stay with the MCP server for a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, and really before you and I had a conversation maybe 2 months ago, I had never heard that term before. So for people in the audience that are unfamiliar with that term, give me a little bit more detail about it. Like, what does it look like? Like you said, dealers would deploy this technology or use something similar to that. Like, what does it actually look like, and what does that mean for a dealer to do that?
Yeah, so what we deploy for dealers are MCP servers on their domain. So it's kind of like their web server today, sits on a computer somewhere in the cloud, and when a consumer comes, it returns content. It returns over HTTP, it returns their website and all that information. An MCP server sits similarly, the mcp.dealername.com, and it sits there and exposes all of this information. And the way MCP works, the folks at Claude a couple of years ago, 2 years ago now, were building a lot of integrations to connect Claude to different tools. Say they want to connect Claude to your Google Calendar. So they would build an integration, which means you're working against an API. It's a structured system. And those structured systems were fragile, and every time you needed to integrate something new, you needed to build a new one. And they thought there should be a better way. Mm-hmm. And MCP became this better way. And it's a protocol that lets AI agents talk to each other in natural language. So instead of having to say, like, this is the interface and I need to program exactly to it, I can just ask the server a question. So I can say, hey, Google Calendar server, what do you do? And the server will respond back in natural language with what it does. It's like, oh, I can show you what's on Brian's calendar today. I can create calendar invites for you, right? And say, oh, great. And the AI can respond to that, say, create a invite for 4 o'clock tomorrow for Corey to talk to Brian, right? And it'll do that for you. So now you can have an AI system that takes action in another system. Wow. So that's the power of MCP, is that it's a very generic technology that creates a lot of power of communication between multiple systems, and does so with lots of layers of trust. So you can build in lots of things like authentication, and you can control really how it works. So, Anthropic created this, and all of the other major AI platforms have adopted it as a standard. So now MCP is used by Gemini, Google, ChatGPT, Grok, all the large AI models.
Wow.
Underlying Google's universal commerce, which is their kind of buying inside of AI, MCP. Underlying OpenAI, ChatGPT's agentic commerce, MCP. So this is a technology layer that is starting to become everywhere. And what we're trying to do is bring that to the automotive industry. And it's a really interesting opportunity to not just create information we can read, but we can write back. And so we can say a user is on ChatGPT and say, hey, I need to get new tires for my car, right? And it's going to recommend this type of tire.
Yeah.
And then it might recommend a shop you can go to. But then at the same time, it can say, this shop has an appointment tomorrow at 4. Do you want it, right? Because it can go in and see and read information out, and you say, yeah, I want it, and it can grab the reservation for you. So, that type of two-way communication allows AI to not just have the most updated information, but to act on your behalf. And we use MCP for a lot of things internally, so we don't have to go and log into multiple systems to see information. We can just ask Claude, and it can go and get that information for us. And we think this technology, if brought to the automotive industry, can help bring car dealers directly into these AI tools. So instead of having to go and scrape the web to get information about which cars are available for sale, or go scrape a marketplace, it can access MCP to get the real data in real time, and not just get data, but take action too.
Wow. So the MCP is I guess going from API to MCP. API is something where if I have a system and you have a system, we have to design it's a way for you to give me data and me to give you data.
Right.
But if there's 5 other systems, we have to create one of those for all 5 other systems. Whereas the MCP is almost like a common language. Like you could walk into any business in Akron, Ohio right now and speak English, and they're going to know what you're talking about.
Exactly. And if you change something on your side, I don't have to change it on my side, because it's going to tell me what changed, right? And I'll be able to adapt to it. So it's very adaptive, and we make changes to it all the time to include more information, make it more robust.
Wow. So at some point, I guess probably every dealer is going to have this, because they're going to need it. to compete because they want their information to be accessible to people that are shopping for cars. What is that going to look like for the customer? Like, how's the customer experience going to change when they're shopping?
Yeah, I think if you start to look, I mean, I used to say if you think, look 5 years in the future, 3 years in the future, but I think like now, this is happening now, right? And in a few years, imagine a consumer, maybe they go to ChatGPT to say, I need to buy a car, I need a new third row SUV for my family. And they ask ChatGPT, what's the best third row SUV for me?
Yeah.
And today, ChatGPT will do a great job of answering that question. You don't need to go to Edmunds or YouTube and watch videos anymore. ChatGPT is going to break it down for you and tell you what the best third row SUV for your family is. Now, what it's going to be able to do is say, now, what's your budget? Okay, you could likely get in these. Here are the actual available inventory today. Here are the dealers that have that inventory. What kind of buying experience do you want? Which dealership do you want to work with? Are there any particular, things you're looking for in this? And what about are you going to pay cash? Are you going to finance it? It can help you with all of that stuff. So instead of having to go to a marketplace or go to your bank, you can just go to one place. And ChatGPT will be able to help the consumer with that entire process. And it's really interesting because now consumers have an agent that's actually working on their behalf. Not like a third party in the middle. You have someone that's truly aligned with the consumer and what they're trying to accomplish and knows everything about them. So it really is personalized for that individual person. So, when a consumer is looking for that car, it's going to surface real-time inventory inside of those chat sessions. It's going to allow them to look at pictures. It's going to allow them to get a value for their existing trade-in, get confidence in the buying process they're going to have, and help prepare them to buy that car. And an interesting thing you see is that we can test this today, and we can connect our tools into ChatGPT and have it run these searches. And when you run a traditional search for a third row SUV on a marketplace, it comes back with 100 results, 125 results, pages of inventory sorted by who's paying the most.
Yeah.
When you do it inside of ChatGPT, it comes back with 5, right? And it's going to say, this is the best one, right? It's like picking, and it's like, these are the 2 alternatives that are close. This one has slightly lower mileage, but doesn't have the same features. So it's helping people understand the market, and you're going away from consumers looking at 50 listings, 20 listings, to looking at fewer that are the best fit for them. So I think it has a lot of implications for how car shopping happens, but generally it is still shifting. It is shifting the power to the consumer in some ways, but the way we see it happening, it's shifting the power to dealers also, because the dealers are directly there in the same conversation. So, in my example, if that is using the dealer's MCP information, imagine if that dealer through MCP passes in their Carfax reports, their reconditioning data and reconditioning reports. So ChatGPT now knows that this isn't just another Toyota Camry. This Toyota Camry has brand new tires, brand new brakes. It's good for the next 5 years. You're not gonna have to do anything to this car, versus another one down the street that might be cheaper, but you're gonna need new tires in 3 months, right? So all that information can come into this tool and help the best dealers win. And I think it's gonna help dealers market their inventory better and connect with consumers better and more effectively.
Wow. So I mean, as opposed to the current system where, like you said, 150 pages of inventory of all the white trucks that I'm looking for, whatever it is, and they're priced very much, all over the board. And I'm a consumer and I don't understand why they're priced all over the board. So do I want to get the one that is at the top of the list? Do I want to get the one that's priced the lowest? Or do I want to go to the one in the middle? Now ChatGPT or some other AI search is going to be able to explain to me, shorten the list a little bit and say, well, this dealer has great reviews, this car has lower miles, it has cloth instead of leather, that's why it's a little bit less expensive than this one. It'll I guess, explain why the car is priced the way it is, as opposed to just making me dig through 150 pages of inventory.
Totally, very much so. And even before that, it's not going to let you get 100 answers and 20 pages of inventory. It's going to interview you, right? It's going to be like, there's 100 pages of inventory. What do you really want? Do you care more about mileage or features? So it's going to understand the context of the results too, and try and get more out of you of how it can personalize those results for you.
That's interesting. I guess especially if this person was using their AI search for a lot of other things as well, the AI search would even know more about them. Like, well, wait a minute, Brian, you're not going to be able to fit a surf rod in the back of that car. surf rod is 7.5 feet long. Like,
Correct.
it's going to say, wait a minute, you want to look at this one because it's got a longer whatever. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff that's going to come into us without having to, the dealership having to understand everything about the person. The AI is going to know everything about it and it's going to pass that context in. So it really helps the consumer find something that they want.
Well, it's kind of like when you go house shopping with a real estate agent as opposed to just looking at houses online.
Everyone is going to have their uncle who used to own a car dealership that knows everything about the industry on their shoulder, helping them with the entire buying process, right? So
wow.
that's where we're going.
Well, what role will car dealerships' websites play in this world? I mean, like what will they look like? What will their purpose be? And should they be using AI search on within their websites?
So yes, I think today car dealership websites are an important front door to the dealership and help consumers navigate not just buying a car, servicing a car. Some dealerships rent cars, or there's lots of things that you do and run out of a dealership, and that's your home base. Now, we think that our MCP server is an alternative front door to your website, and that's for AI agents. The website is for humans, and humans are still going to shop. People are still going to be going and looking and verifying the stuff, but the MCP is there to help the AI agent get the consumer there. Mm-hmm. Consumers are still going to come. And today, most of the shoppers on your website, the people actually buying cars, are consumers. One of the products, actually the first major product that we're shipping for dealers other than MCP, which is MCP is underlying infrastructure, the first real tool that uses it, we call it AI Search or CarGenius AI Search, and it sits on a dealer's website. And it's kind of like a box on the bottom or a little icon with AI stars in it. And what that does is it brings ChatGPT directly to the dealer's website. So now you have a leading AI model plus their MCP server on the website. And that MCP server gives that AI superpowers. So unlike a general ChatGPT who might recommend a dealer down the street or might not know everything about how your dealership operates, the AI is tuned specifically for your dealership, but it's not trained. We're not taking and building our own models. We're not trying to train the model to force it to say things about your dealership. We're giving it tools, and those tools are deterministic. They're structured, and it can't hallucinate a vehicle. It's going to ask for red Hondas, and it gets back red Hondas, right? And if you ask it for, if you have the tool understand your pricing information, it's going to return with the structure and the rules from that information. So when you give an AI MCP, it becomes a very powerful tool because it's not just guessing anymore. It's not just predicting anymore. It knows how to ask for the right things. It knows everything. It knows the difference between an EX and an LX trim. It knows which Volvos have the gold shift, the crystal shifter. So it has all that context built into the model, plus the superpower of just being tuned with tools just for your dealership. So it provides an alternative user experience for consumers who are used to going and typing into chat and using chat as a primary interface. And we even see some of the dealers we work with today looking to create an alternative version of their website. So they have their traditional dealership website with the homepage, SRP, and the VDP. They're looking to say, Corey, CarGenius, can you create a new version of my website that's just chat? I want a user to come in and say, what can I help you with? I am XYZ dealership AI. Let me help you today. And then everything else just kind of comes in next to it. So the whole thing is a chat, I'm looking to service. Okay. What car do you have? And do you have an account with us? And you do everything in chat. And you want to pull up a vehicle detail. You pull it up next to the chat message. You can create a single page experience that provides a really different way, an easier way for a lot of consumers to navigate that dealership.
That's interesting. So I would be using the chat and I would be interacting with the same way I would if I was on ChatGPT. But meanwhile, it's bringing up I'm looking for a white pickup truck. Oh, here's a whole bunch of white pickup trucks. Do you want are you going to tow with it? No. Okay, here's some rear wheel drives. Or yes, here's this. Are you going to go off roading? And it's basically I'm interacting the same way I'm used to interacting, but it's narrowing down the vehicles for me and getting me all the information about the different trim levels or tow packages or whatever the options might be.
Exactly. It's the search the way you want it, right? It's customized for you, and if you don't know the name of a particular trim, it doesn't matter because it knows. It can help you get there, right? So We do a little bit of this today where we can inject UI directly into it. And the cool thing is with MCP, we are, again, not training a new model. We're giving it tools. And those tools we can use to deploy products on the dealer's website. But that exact same tool goes into the MCP, and it's available when ChatGPT comes to shop. So the same experience we're creating here on the dealer website will be the same experience a consumer could have on ChatGPT when they're shopping for a car. So now you think in the future, that picture I was telling you about, oh, you're shopping for cars and it's just all text links. No, not anymore, Brian. It's like the VDPs start to come into the marketplace, or they come into the AI search. And that consumer can have a very robust experience inside of AI without necessarily leaving ChatGPT.
Interesting. So what does this mean for SEO? Because I know you look at them. I know, here at Babcock's, we look at them. Everybody's always paying attention to percentage of search done through AI year over year. Like, we're all watching it grow and grow and grow. As AI search grows and becomes, at some point it's going to overtake regular search. What does that mean for SEO?
Yeah, it's a yes and. Like, SEO is still important, and the foundations of SEO lead to what we call AEO or GEO, optimizing for AI tools. But I think there's a really fundamental change in the surface area, and I describe this as it's a split in consumer behavior. And inside of car shopping, there is research intent and there's transaction intent. And in the research intent side of things, that's where you're like, what's the best third-row SUV for my family? That stuff is unfortunately going to zero click, right? So what happens with zero click is the AI understands all the information out there. It gives the consumer an answer. And if you're a publisher, a dealership, you're lucky if you get a mention. If it mentions you in its answer, that's great. You got your brand out there. Or it's going to give you a citation. It'll link to your site. Most consumers are not going to go to that. I'm sorry, right? So that's kind of bad news on the publisher side of things. But the really good news, particularly for car dealers, is that AI search opens up this new surface, which is transactional intent SEO. And today, if a consumer is at the point where they're comparing cars, they're likely on a marketplace. They're on cars.com, they're on CarGurus, comparing vehicles. And the only way you can influence that as a dealership is pay more to be at the top of the results, right? Like, you want to talk about what makes your dealership different? I'm sorry, right? Like, you really can't do that very well on marketplaces today. But inside of AI, you can do that very, very well. And this is even happening today. If you force ChatGPT to help you find a car, in the same sentence that it recommends a vehicle, it's going to tell you about the dealership that vehicle's at, how they operate, and by the way, there's another dealership 5 miles away, 10 miles away, 50 miles away that also has inventory, right? So it's already thinking about inventory and dealer in the same sentence, and it's not just thinking about they have the car, but it's thinking about how they operate. So, transactional intent SEO is going to be very, very important for car dealers. And traditional SEO tends to be, let's write comparisons, make model content, reviews, and put them on your SRPs and push it out to Google. Transaction intent means having FAQs on your site, having a really good About Us page, talking about your processes and why buy from you. I've worked with dealers where their About Us page is a template they got when they got their website created, right? It's not about them at all. It's a generic car dealer template. And it's easy stuff, right? Like, talk about your dealership, talk about what makes you great. I think it's fun. Have your people on there. And get your brand and your people out there more. So I think that's going to matter a lot more. And making sure that what you have on your site is consistent with what is externally available. So whether it be review sites, everyone loves review sites, but review sites are important. You don't have to pay to be on them, but you should respond to your reviews there. Pay attention to what people are saying there, because AI is paying attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that I've noticed with some of the video creation and some other things that we've done, is that it seems like people are commenting more, and there are certain things that you can do, like when you're talking about having your people in there, or talking about how you do things, or why to the why to buy from me stuff. Yeah. I mean, people will engage with that stuff, and I feel like with the AI searches that it's like you said, it's going to say this vehicle's at this dealership that's near you, and here's how they do business. Well, you don't want AI to hallucinate on how you do business, right?
Not.
I mean, like, all that stuff's important, and the review sites are a part of that too, because where's AI going to find that? That's where they're going to find it. They're going to find it. They're going to find out about you from what you say, and they're going to find out about you from what others say about you.
They're going to verify it too. So, and one of the things we do as part of our MCP server is we expose a dealership information endpoint that it takes and understands the entire dealer's website and takes that information to answer questions about the dealership. We have found that when we deploy this, a dealership will say like, wait a minute, the AI said this thing. That's not true. That's not how we operate. And we go and look and see why it answered that way, and we actually find the content on their site that actually says very much similar to what the AI said. So it's like, we can change what our system says, but the way to change that so our system is correct and ChatGPT says the right information and Google sees the right information is like update that page on your site, right?
Yeah.
And now we're being consistent, and you should go and read all those reviews and respond to them because you want to know what it's saying and make sure that you are changing things on your website to reflect the way you want it to say, and make sure you are changing your processes inside your dealership to respond to how you want those reviews to look.
So for all the audience that's watching right now, all the dealers that are in their offices or at home or at the gym or if they're listening, what do they need to do right now to be ready for this future?
Well, I think I say start using AI tools, right? Go out and see what AI says about your dealership, and don't just use one. Don't just go to Google and look at the AI answers. Go to ChatGPT, go to Claude, and see what it says. I think that's really important. Have your team do that as well. We are building MCP for car dealers. We actually will deploy it for free for any car dealer who wants MCP. We'll build it for you. We'll put it on your website, on your domain. We want this to be on every website as fast as possible because we think that's what's going to shift the industry to this new paradigm of direct connection into the AI tools. So we'd love to chat with any dealer, and we'll deploy this for them. When you do that, we will give you your own version of AI search that they can just play with, so they can see what it would be like.
Yeah.
You can always just go to ChatGPT and give it your MCP server and say use this, and start seeing what it's going to be like as ChatGPT comes to use those things. And we don't charge dealers until the AI actually starts using it, right? And so that's our model, is to get usage on this stuff and to make this future happen and have our incentives aligned with that future happening for dealers. So I'd say get out there, start using AI. Would love to deploy infrastructure for you if you want to get ahead of the game. I think pay attention to your About Us pages, right? And like those, the why buy, transactional intent content on your site.
I don't normally talk about price on the podcast, but I believe that you might have just said my favorite price. Did you say that you will deploy the MCP server for free?
We will. I think part of our mission is to get this infrastructure everywhere to change how the industry works, and we think that if we deploy this in your dealership today and it's not used, you don't pay for it, right? And once AI starts using it, if you use it, right, we have a generous free tier, but once it starts getting used, we have a pricing structure that comes in after that. I think we are very, very cost effective for what we do, and are trying to fundamentally become the transaction layer for how car shopping happens, not become a marketing layer. So one of the things we think about our business is, are you familiar with Stripe?
Yes.
So Stripe is a technology company that powers a lot of the credit cards you use to buy stuff online. And you don't go to an online merchant and see Stripe anywhere. You just buy it and it's easy, right? And everything Stripe does is behind the scenes. And that's what we're building. We're building the infrastructure that brings car dealers directly into these AI models to power agentic commerce inside of automotive. And we think if we can make that happen, there's a huge business underneath that. But our goal is to get this everywhere and get it as fast as possible. And we think it'll be better for the dealers, it'll be better for the consumers, and it's going to be what the AI models want as well, because this is going to allow them to provide a much better user experience.
Awesome. Well, is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today, Corey?
I think we talked about a lot. I think, as I said, I'm excited for what we are doing here. I think we are still early on in making this happen, and we're looking for dealers that are interested in being a part of it. So one of the things that we have, we're coming out of our pilot right now, but the most important thing is feedback, right? I would love feedback. If you think this is a good idea, if you're a dealer out there who's interested in what we're talking about and wants to make it better, almost all the product features we've shipped now have come from the dealers we're working with in the pilot and say, can you do this? And often it's the answer is yes, right? So love to get feedback on what we're doing and find ways to kind of move us as an industry towards, I think, a future state that seems a lot more attractive to what we. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming in today.
Yeah, thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
Fun conversation.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, our guest has been Corey Lydstone from CarGenius AI. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.